Hey, everyone. So, you've been following this whole Iranian leadership thing, and it's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, definitely.
We've got, all these conflicting reports about Ayatollah Khamenei's health,
Right.
succession rumors,
Uh-huh.
and of course, tensions with Israel are, well, they're not exactly cooling down.
No, not at all.
And we've got these articles from the Times of India, the Economic Times.
Oh, and the India Times just dropped a new piece, too.
Yeah, it's all happening so fast. So, let's dive in and see what we can make sense of.
Sounds good. It's amazing how much conflicting information is out there.
Right. Even from sources you'd usually trust.
Exactly. It makes you realize just how secretive the Iranian regime really is.
It's hard to know what's real and what's, what they want you to think.
Absolutely.
Okay, so the big thing everyone's talking about is Ayatollah Khamenei's health. Some reports are saying he's in a coma.
Right.
And then there are these whispers that his son, Moshe Khamenei, has been chosen to succeed him.
Like in some super secret meeting.
Yeah. But then, and this is the wild part, on the same day those reports come out, Khamenei's office posts a photo of him meeting with the Iranian ambassador to Lebanon.
Talk about a carefully constructed image.
Right.
Oh.
What are they trying to say with that?
Oh, it's definitely strategic. It's all about projecting this image of everything's fine, the Supreme Leader's got this.
Control, right. They want to show they're in control.
Exactly. And that there's no need to panic.
But is it possible? Could this just be for show? Could Khamenei be sicker than they're letting on?
It's possible, yeah. We have to remember, appearances can be deceiving, especially in situations like this.
We can't just take things at face value.
Right. It's entirely possible that Khamenei's health is actually quite fragile.
And that this photo is just a way to keep things calm.
Keep everyone from, freaking out.
Yeah, maintain order. But there's another thing about this photo that I find interesting. The ambassador in the picture, he was injured in that explosion in Lebanon. And that just highlights how involved Iran is in all of this. Speaking of that explosion, can you give us more context on what happened there?
Sure. So this explosion happened in September, and it was a major event.
Yeah, I remember hearing about it.
It caused a lot of damage and resulted in a lot of casualties.
How many people were affected?
Almost 3,000 people were injured, and tragically, 39 were killed.
Wow.
And the explosion itself was caused by, well, it's a bit strange, but it was a bunch of pagers and walkie-talkies.
Pagers and walkie-talkies.
Yeah, and they were being used by Hezbollah.
Hezbollah, right. They're backed by Iran.
Exactly. Now, both Iran and Hezbollah are blaming Israel for this.
Blaming them for the explosion?
Yeah, they're saying Israel orchestrated the whole thing.
Wow, that's a pretty serious accusation.
It is.
And it just adds another layer to this whole situation with Mojtaba Khamenei as a potential successor. His potential leadership has a lot of people worried, especially with all the tension with Israel.
Yeah, for good reason. Mojtaba is, well, he's a bit of an enigma. We know he's deeply connected to the clerical establishment in Iran.
So he's got the right connections.
And the word is that he's been groomed for leadership for a while now.
So they've been preparing him.
But what's really concerning is his hardline stance.
Especially towards Israel.
Especially. He's known to be very critical of any attempts to make peace with the West.
So he's not really into diplomacy then?
Not so much. And some people even think he's the one behind his father's more aggressive foreign policy in recent years.
So not just a hardliner, but maybe even the driving force behind Iran's current approach. That's a little scary, especially given Khamenei's recent sermon. It was his first in 5 years, and he basically condemned Israel, declared their downfall even.
Wow, yeah, I read about that.
He also threw his support behind Hamas and Hezbollah.
And justified those missile strikes.
Yeah, it was a pretty strong statement.
Definitely a sign of the times. It was a pretty powerful message.
And the timing too, right?
Yeah.
With everything going on between Israel and Palestine, right at a boiling point.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, how are people in Iran reacting to all of this?
Yeah, that's a good question.
We always hear about hardliners and moderates.
Well, it's complicated. Iran's a diverse country.
Of course.
With a lot of different viewpoints. So there are definitely people who support the regime and their whole ideology.
Right, the hardcore supporters.
But there's also this growing group, especially among younger people, who want change.
They want something different.
They want better economic opportunities, more freedom.
Who wouldn't?
And they see all this focus on foreign conflicts as a distraction.
From the real problems.
Exactly.
So you've got this kind of internal struggle going on then, this push for change, butting up against the people in power.
Yeah, it's a real tug of war.
And how does all this tie into these rumors about Khamenei's health?
It's hard to say for sure, but
I mean, is it possible that his inner circle is trying to grab more power before he's gone?
it's definitely possible.
Like to make sure Mojtaba takes over smoothly? Yeah, you always see power struggles when a leader's health is uncertain.
People trying to take advantage.
And in Iran, the stakes are really high. I mean, it could destabilize the whole region.
If things go wrong.
Exactly. So Wekin Khamenei means opportunity for others.
And that could lead to some serious infighting.
Oh, absolutely. There's probably a lot of political maneuvering going on behind the scenes.
It's like a game of chess, isn't it?
Yeah, with really high stakes.
And that photo of Khamenei with the ambassador,
It was very deliberate.
like it was meant to send a message.
Not just to the Iranian people either, but to the rest of the world.
To show there's still a force to be reckoned with.
Exactly. It's what they call strategic communication.
Trying to control how people see them.
Projecting strength and stability, trying to reassure their allies.
And maybe scare their enemies a little bit.
Maybe even influence public opinion.
But as we've been saying, appearances can be deceiving.
We don't really know what's going on behind closed doors.
It's like we're trying to solve a puzzle, but we're missing half the pieces.
And the information we do have might not even be reliable.
Right. We have to be careful about what we believe.
That's the challenge with situations like this.
We have to look at everything really critically
Consider all the different angles,
and try to figure out the truth.
which is not always easy.
Especially with so much noise out there.
Yeah, and in this case, the stakes couldn't be higher.
This isn't just about politics, is it?
No, it's about the future of Iran.
The stability of the whole Middle East.
Even the balance of global power.
It all comes down to what happens next in Iran.
And the decisions they make will affect all of us.
So it's really important to understand this whole situation
To look beyond the headlines.
and try to figure out what's really going on.
Because it matters.
And with all this talk about rising tensions with Israel in those articles we saw, I mean, could this be a sign that things are going to escalate?
Well, it's hard to say for sure, but
Like from proxy wars to something more direct?
I mean, it's possible, but
Especially with Mojtaba and his hardline views.
right. And his potential influence.
Yeah. Could that push things in that direction?
A direct conflict with Israel would be a huge escalation, though,
Yeah, no kidding.
with potentially devastating consequences for everyone.
So it's not something they would take lightly?
No, even the hardliners in Iran understand the risks.
So what's the most likely scenario then?
Well,
Is this whole photo op with Khamenei just a way to buy time
it could be.
while they try to get Mojtaba in position?
It's a risky strategy, though.
How so?
Well, the longer they keep up this facade,
About Khamenei's health.
right, the bigger the fallout if the truth comes out.
And then there's the Iranian people themselves.
Right.
We talked about how they want change.
Especially the younger generation.
Could this backfire on the regime?
It's definitely possible.
Like, could it actually spark more unrest?
Oh, absolutely, if they force a succession.
Especially if it's someone like Mojtaba.
Who represents more of the same policies?
The ones that have caused so many problems.
Could be the final straw.
The thing that pushes people over the edge.
The Iranian people have a history of protesting.
Of standing up for what they believe in.
They're not afraid to make their voices heard.
So as we wrap things up here,
Yeah,
it feels like we've got more questions than answers.
it's a complex situation.
Khamenei's health, the photo op, Mojtaba, waiting in the wings.
And a population ready for change
It's a recipe for uncertainty.
and potential volatility.
It's hard to predict what will happen.
But one thing's for sure.
This story is far from over.
It's important to stay informed and keep an eye on what happens next.
To everyone listening, thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, it's been a fascinating discussion.
Keep asking those questions and keep digging deeper.
The situation in Iran is constantly evolving.
And it will have a major impact on the world.
So stay tuned. We'll be back with more deep dives soon.
Until then, take care, everyone.